this school and how the decision by the Board of Regents to merge the schools is going over.
Well, I think it's been interesting and in a way sort of gratifying to hear this outpouring of support for Southern Polytechnic as a result of, I mean, I'm sorry it's because of this reason, but if you had come to campus last week and asked students what they thought about things that were happening, you probably would have heard about complaints about parking. And so, in a way, it's been wonderful to have this outpouring of support for the university and passion about the brand and the kind of education that we offer here. And so our challenge now, working together, is to try to figure out how to take the best of both institutions and make an even stronger university as we come together.
How to convert that passion into positive.
Yes.
Dr. Papp, as you're talking about some ideas, can you share any of them about?
Not yet. Wish we could.
Dr. Papp, all in all, how do you reassure the SPSU students that we'll be okay?
How do we assure the SPS students that you'll be okay?
And how do they don't, for a lot of students, they're new, so they don't know who Dr. Papp is. How do we get to know who you are? Good luck.
I'm going to be over here a lot over the upcoming days and weeks and months. So I absolutely guarantee Southern Poly students and faculty and staff that you're going to get to know me. That's part one. How do we reassure SPSU students that they're going to be okay? As we move forward with the consolidation, there will be SPSU students and KSU students deeply involved in all aspects of the consolidation effort. This will ensure that KSU students' interests and SPSU students' interests will be protected. And again, when it comes to the complementarity that I've emphasized a couple of times, you look at the degree programs that are in place at Southern Polytechnic, and almost without exception, they are all doing extremely, extremely well. Those programs are going to continue. Now, there are a couple of degree programs at Southern Poly, even as there are a couple of degree programs at Kennesaw State that do not have the numbers of students graduating that the Board of Regents would like to see. So those programs, both at Kennesaw State and at Southern Poly, are being reviewed in a process totally separate and totally apart from this consolidation. That would have happened anyway.
Will we see that with the student organizations as well?
With the student organizations,
Yes.
There will be folks from student success and student affairs meeting together, seeing where there may be cases where some student organizations can be integrated into a single organization. There will inevitably be many student organizations that stay apart. There will also probably be some student organizations where one continues on at Kennesaw State and the identical one carries on at Southern Poly. In the questions and answer period, there was one individual who asked about Greek organizations, fraternities and sororities, and I observed there that there are a number of multi-campus institutions in the United States, like Florida Atlantic as an example, that has, excuse me, that has 3 or 4 different chapters of the same Greek organization on the separate campuses. So there'll be a whole host of different answers to your question.
I have a question. What are you going to be doing for women that are interested in engineering? I know past few years Southern Poly has been working towards bringing more women into the science and technology fields. So I was wondering what you're going to do to keep that going.
It's a huge emphasis at Southern Poly. It's a huge emphasis at Kennesaw State. Obviously not in the engineering and technology areas, but to bring ladies into all of the STEM disciplines that we do have. So this is a huge emphasis, generically speaking, at KSU. I think it's interesting to note here that at Kennesaw State we have roughly 59% of our student population is female, whereas at Southern Poly roughly 22% is female. We want to get more ladies into science, into technology, into engineering. And I would just point out here that Kennesaw State this year got our first Goldwater Scholar ever, a young lady by the name of Jung-Shil Lau.
Dr. Papp, what are you going to do about the transportation issue, or commuting for students that have a class at KSU and have a class on this campus here? How are you going to go about handling that?
We are going to work extremely hard, first of all, to make sure that all of the classes that are required by any of the degrees that have their primary home here will be offered here as well. We will also, though, work both with, we call it Kennesaw, the Big Owl Bus, Bob, and with Cobb County Transit, CCT, to put a transportation route in place. It'd be nice to have a transportation route from Kennesaw through Town Center Mall, through Southern Poly, over to the Gallery and
Or a
College.
train?
Or a train.
One question for you. You may have answered this already. I was running in and out.
Yeah.
But sorry. Question for you. Have you all met with your faculty and staff yet at this point?
Some of them.
Okay.
Have we met with faculty and staff?
Yeah. Aside from the meetings that we've had,
We had a meeting here on campus Friday afternoon.
what are you hearing from them at this point?
From faculty and staff, we're hearing a lot of questions, and there are a lot of questions we don't have the answers to yet. There are some people who are concerned, understandably, what this means to them, what their future looks like, how they're going to fit into the consolidation. A lot of people have been volunteering to serve on the implementation team and the various committees that are going to be talking about how to make this happen, which I think is good, because we start bringing people into the problem-solving process and engage people in sort of envisioning the future, how we make this work, and sort of expanding the conversation.
Dr. Rossbacher, how do we make sure that we're picking the right people for these implementations?
Well, that's a good question. Dan and I have already been talking about how to structure that to bring the best possible mix of people who sort of have all the various perspectives on the institution, not have overlap in areas of expertise, but to have proper representation from both campuses. But it's not going to be just this 20 or so person implementation team that's going to be making all the decision. There's going to be lots of committees and subcommittees and task forces that help talk about the details and make recommendations to the implementation team. So it's going to be a very broad and inclusive discussion. It's not going to be a small group of people that go in a room and make decisions. It's going to be broad discussion involving faculty, staff, students, alumni, community from both institutions.
If you wanted to use a couple of words to describe the folks who are going to be on the implementation committee, Lisa and I are looking for strategic thinkers who are also problem solvers.
We just have 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap it up.
Would the Board of Regents consider coming up with a brand new name for both schools, including Polytechnic or Technology somewhere in the title, if it would quell this riot?
Or is that a done deal already, the name?
As far as I know, the name is a done deal.
Of the
Of the
institution.
institution.
But there may be ways in which, within the institution, we can find an appropriate role for the Southern Polytechnic name.
We are a full university, Dr. Rossbacher. We are not a liberal arts program. So I would ask the Board of Regents to consider a brand new name that would give the Southern Poly, both the students and the alumni who have given a lot to this, feel a little bit better about this hostile takeover.
Well, from my perspective, it's not hostile, but I understand how from your perspective it is.
One last question for you, Dr. Papp, and Dr. Rossbacher. In a story, I think over the weekend, I read where you mentioned, you talked about kind of the estimated cost savings that some of the other mergers have generated.
Mhm.
At this point, do you have anything, even wide estimates about what kind of cost savings you're looking at here? I know the other ones have maybe generated 7 to 8 million.
Somewhere in the 5 to 8 million
But
range
I
is what
think-
the other combined ones do.
I think that number came after the fact,
Yes.
after they had implemented the processes and sort of stepped back and looked at what the savings were. So I'd be hard pressed to predict right now. What we do know is that whatever savings are generated from the consolidation, that's not money that's being cut from the budget, it's being reinvested in instruction and student support.
Many times when you have a cost savings, whether it's reinvested or used for other purposes, many times, especially when you're talking to people that comes with, that's where your costs lie. Do you have any idea at this time what that means cut-wise for your faculties and staffs and people and jobs, and things like that?
We do not at the present time. I think that's something we'll probably wind up getting a better handle as we move further into 2014.
And how
But
much,
right now,
excuse me, how much say do you have in that? Is that something that the implementation team, you all will kind of do yourselves, or do the regents have any say in how you go about implementing those cost savings, or not implementing, but finding those cost savings and kind of consolidating some of those programs and services and things?
my understanding, and stop me if this is not your understanding, Lisa, is that there will be certain decisions made that we have to send downtown for approval, but that there will be other decisions made that we can handle on campus.
Can you give me an example of both types?
I cannot.
Like administration, you get to say over?
If we decided we were going to outsource an entire division of the
Okay.
of the new institution, because we could save money by outsourcing, I hate to even make something up, because
By outsourcing something.
outsourcing
Okay.
something and could save money, but that it was a whole big division of the institution. I think there'd be policy implications that we would need to check with the system office for.
Okay.
But if it's really a tactical thing in terms of how we staff a particular office and how we divide up responsibilities and the proper job skills, it's just sort of an operational decision. I think that will be within our purview.